Hello there, everyone. It's me, Jeff. I'm back at it again doing this thing that I do where I record my voice over sped up footage of me drawing. I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope that you can't hear my allergy attack. I wake up, it's weird, during the wintertime I wake up every morning just feeling like I have to sneeze, so I constantly feel like I have to sneeze all day long. So if you hear heavy breathing or anything like that, I apologize. But anyway, we're drawing Batman today. Actually, we're drawing Nipple Batman. It's Batman with nipples all over his costume, kind of an homage to the Joel Schumacher Batman movies, where they decided to put nipples on the Batman costume, which is very strange because nipples don't say to me, they don't strike fear in my heart. I suppose they would with some people. I don't know. I guess if Batman were to grab you, and he's got you by the collar and you look down and you see that he has nipples on his costume, it might be a little scary. I mean, it's scary enough that he's dressed like a bat. It's extra scary that he took the time to sculpt nipples onto his body armor. But anyway, this is it was a Sketch Dailies thing. That's my MO these days, I suppose. You figured it out. Most of these drawings are Sketch Dailies because it's just something fun to draw. It's a good, I take the suggestion and I go with it, because I guess I have difficulty not just coming up with something off the top of my head. It's like I don't know if I have difficulty doing that. It's just that it's fun to take an idea and do my own take on it. But I didn't want to just draw Batman normally. I wanted to just have fun with it like I usually do, and I decided to put nipples everywhere I could. So on his pecs, on his head where his bat ears go, even on his battering. And you'll see that all come to life as we go. So today I didn't really prepare anything to talk about so much, as far as technique and stuff. My other videos, I've kind of touched on a lot of the same stuff that I'm doing in this one. I guess I could talk a little bit about no, I won't. I think what I'll talk about is sort of like myself. I'll talk about myself and how I got started in drawing. And it's fun. I started drawing when I was very little, and as a little kid I was always drawing, but I think that if it wasn't for Batman, I wouldn't have gotten onto the path that I am now. But when I was all the way up until I was, sometime after high school, my goal was to draw comic books for a living, and like superhero comic books. And it kind of went a different direction. I started getting into doing web comics and more comical stuff, and sort of felt really inspired when drawing more cartoony stuff, and that's the direction I took. And now I'm doing freelance illustration and graphic design. More graphic design than illustration. I would love to be hired to do more illustration work, but I feel like you frequently get more requests for logo design and stuff like that, more than illustration. And the people that need illustration a lot of times don't have the budget for it. But maybe I'm looking in the wrong places, or the people asking for that work are not willing to pay up. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. The market's kind of weird. But anyway, enough about the market. Let's get back to business. We're talking about Batman. My love of Batman actually started with the 1966 television series. And no, I'm not old enough to have seen it in the 60s. But I saw repeats on the Family Channel, which later became the Fox Family Channel. And they used to show repeats, and I loved it. And I also saw the Tim Burton movies when I was very young, probably too young to really understand them, or but I guess there was no nudity, so my parents let me watch them, regardless of the violence and whatever else. But I really got into Batman then, and that ended up leading me to buying comic books and stuff, and Batman comics. And when I was real young, I had no interest in comic books unless they were Batman. I just wanted Batman stuff, and my mom ended up buying me some old back issues of Batman comics from the 80s that, this was like the 90s at the time, like early 90s, and there was this store called the $1.98 store where everything was not $1.98, it just was whatever amount plus 98 cents. It was a really stupid concept, but they had 3 Batman comics for 98 cents, and my mom got me those, and I devoured them. And lucky for me, that was from that era that was that a lot of Batman the Animated Series was inspired by, that time in the late 80s and stuff like that. So it kind of had, I was also watching Batman the Animated Series, and that kind of had the same feel and tone, maybe a little more grown up, but and I was into it. And so I was always buying Batman comics. This was a time when I live in a small community where now you're lucky if you can go to the local comic book shop and find comics. I mean, we have a game store, which it's games and comics, and for a long time they just weren't ordering new comics. They just didn't want to hassle with the distributor or something, and they just started doing that again. But it's hard to find. And I was, when I was a kid, you could walk into any gas station and they had a rack of comic books. The local Safeway had a rack of comic books. We had a bookstore that was double-sided. It was like 2 shops with a door, a conjoining door, and the one side was all comic books. And so I got into buying Batman comics. I didn't understand at the time that you had to read them in order or anything like that, or that Legends of the Dark Knight and Batman and Shadow of the Bat were all different series. Like, I actually, one year for my birthday, had like $30, and I went to the bookstore and they were selling old back issues, and I picked out a bunch, mostly ones that had cool covers, and I didn't realize that there were story arcs when I was a kid. I just flipped through the back, and I looked to make sure there was nothing that said "to be continued," because I hated that. I didn't want to have to get the whole set if there was. I just assumed that it would always say "to be continued," and that would carry the story on. And I also didn't understand the numbering system, so I would get Batman number 500 or whatever, and think that came after Shadow of the Bat number 429 or something. I thought those were all part of the same series, but I was a kid. I was learning about comic books and how needlessly complicated they can be, but I still enjoyed the hell out of them, and that led to me getting into comics. For years I didn't buy anything that didn't have Batman in it. I did buy crossovers and stuff, with Superman or whatever. And then, I started watching more cartoons like Spider-Man, and got into Marvel stuff. And by the time I was in high school, I was full-blown comic nerd. And so my goal was to draw comic books and do that type of illustration. And, I kind of guess things kind of changed a little bit after high school, when it was I kind of realized how it's kind of difficult, especially depending on your style. It's the comic companies want a specific style, and you can definitely put out your own comics. That was something that I started to get into with web comics and stuff, so I started drawing comics on the internet before I even thought about printing anything. I mean, at this point in time, print was dying anyway, and so the idea of there sort of being less and less options as far as getting into the comic book industry and being a penciler, and more, that just breeds more competitiveness, because the less there is, the more people are going toward that one publisher or something like that, and so I just started creating my own things, and I ended up trying out the webcomic thing for a while. My friend Dylan and I came up with a webcomic that was based on us, which was at the time even very unoriginal, but we called it Disappointmentville, USA, and it was kind of just about us and our small town or whatever, and we did that for a few years. Dylan kind of lost interest in it, and I kept it up for a little bit, and then pretty soon I started actually getting requests via email for freelance work to do, cartoons for different people, like character design, and I did a couple of album covers right off the bat, and so the rest is history. I kind of started shifting my focus away from doing the comics, as much as I still enjoy doing comics and stuff. It's one of those things where it's a slow burn. You really have to work at it for a long time before there's any return of money, or maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't know. I've studied all this stuff. I've looked into different things, but the market for illustrators and designers, it just constantly changes. The areas in which you can really make a living on just keeps changing. Just from the past few years, when I really got serious about doing this, when things started to take off for me, it's there was options, as far as I was even working on doing stock illustration for stock sites, which I know is frowned upon by some of the more professional illustrators, because they feel like it kind of put a dent in their industry, and people could go online and get cheap illustrations and artwork and not have to pay hundreds of dollars to get it done custom. But at the time when I started it, I started doing it through iStock Photo, and I was making just a handful of illustrations. I could pull in $30 in a month. Now I'm lucky with 100 or whatever I have. I'm not sure if I have 100 on there. I'm lucky if I get $2 or $5, because it just blew up after a while, and that's kind of the situation, it seems like, even with freelance. With the internet, you have so many more opportunities available to you, but also so do everybody from every country. So you're competing with people who their wage is $5 an hour to do something, to do a beautiful piece of artwork, which it just blows my mind, because their cost of living is so low. I think it's silly that they do that, and I think that if you're living in a country with a low living wage, you should still charge equal to the market value in a country like the US or something, because you can get that. If everybody's charging that, it's worth that anyway. And if everybody's charging close to those rates, then it evens out the playing field a little bit, and the people who are talented, they can excel, and the people who do good work can excel. And clients, a lot of newer clients, they think, oh, well, I can get this super cheap, but then they have a horrible experience, and that just taints their view of freelancers for the rest of the time they exist as a company. It's they keep they don't want to pay that, because because that $5 an hour wage is available. They think that's the way to go, but really, if somebody's charging $50 an hour, you can expect to get something good from that, and if you don't, it's that artist's reputation on the line, But anyway, I was talking about Batman, and I guess I should get back on track to what I was talking about. But yeah, that's what started me out, kind of got me into comics and stuff. I'm sure I would still be into art, and I'd still be into freelancing, but I don't know. It might have been different if I didn't get into comic books and stuff. I might have followed another path like animation or something, because I was into cartoons. I was watching Rocko's Modern Life and Animaniacs, and, everything that every millennial enjoys on television. I was watching it, and so I might have gone more the animation route, and who knows? Maybe I would have went to college for that. I don't know. But this is where I'm at now, and I'm drawing pictures and recording it and talking over it, and that's my life now. But yeah, I guess let's get back to talking about nipples, because that seems like something we should talk about a little bit, is the nipple Batman. When I was a kid, seeing the Joel Schumacher movies, it wasn't that ridiculous or bad. It's weird. I talked to some people and they're like, oh, when I was a kid I knew it was bad. I loved everything that I saw. I loved going to the movies. We were a poor family. We didn't get to go to the theater very much, but I went to the theater to go see Batman. And I had a great time with Batman Forever. I even loved Batman and Robin when it came out, as ridiculous as that is. But I still like it. I still actually do. I think that when you look at it as being a good representation of the Batman character, as sort of like the favorite way he's been portrayed, it's not good. But going back to watching Batman 66, which is something I watched as a kid, that was played for laughs. It was a satire on the superhero genre, and so is Batman and Robin in every way. And I think that even the things that they did that were not intentional still work as being satirical. Like, there's the moment in the movie where Batman shows up with Batgirl and Robin. They all have their like weird ice costumes that came out of nowhere, and it's like, that's for selling action figures, but it's one of those things where that's kind of funny because that's part of the satire. It's part of how how that the whole movie is all about that. It's all played for laughs and stuff, and it's kind of fun. When I was a kid, though, I don't think I quite had a grasp on that, nor did I care. Like, it was just totally awesome for me to see these characters come to life. I guess I lied to myself a little bit, like I would go see it because I was huge into Batman the Animated Series, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is not quite the greatest casting for Mr. Freeze, but when I was a kid and I saw the movie, I was like, oh, he's perfect, he did such a good job. And I used to do that with every movie I went to, but I guess that kind of, it's just, there's always something good to find, and I was entertained by them. I still am entertained by them. They're all highly quotable. But yeah, I was just, so anything Batman, really. It could be the worst thing in the world, and I was into it. I mean, hell, Man of Steel, not my favorite Superman movie. I actually was really, really upset about it when I left the theater. And then, now they're putting Batman in this new, this sequel with Batman versus Superman, and I'm super pumped. I don't care that he's Ben Affleck. I don't care that it's the same continuity as Man of Steel, and it's probably just going to be lots of explosions and blowing stuff up again. I don't know. I love the character of Batman. I like that, that he, is a real guy. There's something about that. Like, my favorite incarnations, actually, as fun as like the weird, absurd ones are, my favorite incarnations are the ones that are sort of grounded in reality as much as possible. And I think it's because, like, the concept behind it is it's kind of absurd. He's dressed as a giant bat. He has all these villains with gimmicks and stuff, like the Joker and the Riddler and Catwoman, the Penguin, But there's something fun about sort of trying to interpret that in reality, and it kind of becomes this weird warped, half real, half, like, teeters on the edge between reality and just over the top comic book. And I never like it when I see Jim Lee's Killer Croc that just looks like a lizard monster. I like the Killer Croc where it's like a skin condition, but he's still just a big strong dude. And those are that's my favorite version. I just find it more interesting. But yeah, that's me. That's my obsession with Batman. So Joel Schumacher, Batman, all that good stuff. So as we're nearing the end of this, I guess I should probably talk a little bit about the actual drawing. I like to draw weird things. I think I've mentioned that before in some of these videos, and this is the kind of thing where it's like I just want it to be super strange. It's funny to me, stuff like this. I really got into Ren and Stimpy not too long ago, revisiting it because of that. I kind of realized there's something really funny in these things that are awkward and stuff. They kind of feel wrong, and rather than just going for some sort of funny Batman joke, that most people would grab at. I just think the visual of him having nipples all over his costume is what's funny, and it's weird, and probably the reason why Sketch Dailies didn't retweet this drawing. I think it's a pretty decent drawing. I spent some time on it, and they usually retweet those ones, but I think sometimes I throw some stuff like this at them where they're not sure if this is porn or something, so they don't retweet it. I don't know. Something I was thinking about after I had done it is, I think he could have used some more nipples on his suit. There's too many empty spaces. I could have put one on each of his shoes, or even the crotch. I think the crotch one might be a little weird, but I could have done it. It most definitely wouldn't even have gotten a favorite on the Sketch Daily's Twitter if I had done that. But, yeah, so I just like to do weird stuff like this, and that's where that's what happens when you combine a love of Batman and a love of the weird things in life. You get Nipple Batman, and I think he may be the world's greatest superhero. It definitely is pretty scary. But anyway, that's enough of that. I'm just going on about whatever now. I guess I can do the normal housekeeping at the ends of the videos. I'll make sure to put a link to this picture in the description, something you can look at up close. It's from my Tumblr, which is jeffmorin.tumblr.com. I think I remembered that now. I always confuse it. I think it's jeffmorinart.tumblr.com, but I landed Jeff Morin, there's another Jeff Morin out there that keeps stealing all my stuff. One of my Google accounts, it has that guy's photo, even though it's not his email. I don't understand how that works. I should probably contact Google about that and say, what's the deal here? So I think some people probably think I'm him. But anyway, that's my Tumblr. I'll put a link to the photo from Tumblr, or maybe or wherever. And my Twitter is @ Milkman Jeff. And I used to be a milkman. Who knows? I might be one again. We'll see. If this freelance thing doesn't do what it needs to do for me, I might have to go back into the grocery business. Who knows? Or at least for a little while. And then you can find me on Facebook. I'm Jeff Morin on Jeff Morin Art on Facebook. I have a fan page there, and I post a lot of stuff. This time of year, I post a lot of advertisements. If you'd like to support what I do, I would really appreciate you guys if you visit my store on Zazzle, zazzle.com/Jeff_art, or you can just go to jeffmornart.com/store, and I have links to a Redbubble store there as well. It just helps, getting that little extra cash flow going. I spoke a little bit about making products and stuff in my previous video, where I was designing the clown for the phone cases. It's helpful, it's just a little extra cash to help supplement my income, so I can keep doodling, keep drawing, and I'd really appreciate if everybody go visit my store. And, even if you don't buy anything, I think that your people visiting, looking at products and stuff helps rank it up in like the search in the search results and stuff like that. So, not that I'm encouraging anybody to do that. I'm not trying to pull a scam or anything, but you don't have to buy anything. Just shop around. Get some therapy, some shopping therapy. Might make you feel good. Give you a little laugh or something. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Next time, I think I'll have some more to say. I think my next video I'm planning is a process of me drawing with Adobe Illustrator. This one was with Manga Studio, like a lot of these have been, and Adobe. It's an ugly snowman design I did for Christmas in Adobe Illustrator. So I'm sure I'll have more to talk about as far as like technique or using the software or whatever. So that's it. I'll talk to you all later on. There's a little bit of video here left with some cheeseball fake sounding Batman music that I got for free, so enjoy that. Alright, bye. I am vengeance. I am the knight. I am Nipple Batman.